So, Pax, the last time we did something at NFT Hive, we made the stinger. And the stinger was showing you how to use the drop feature over on NFT Hive when that started a while back. But they have created a PFP tool. Now, PFP, of course, is an avatar. You've seen these, everything from the Bored Ape Yacht Club to the whales to the corgi butts, so you name it, there's a zillion things. But anyway, it's always been really hard to make PFPs on Wax specifically because we use a completely different coding language. And until then, we would do it manually. So I was the second person to do a PFP on Wax, and it took me weeks just to do 100 of them. And I added AI, and it was a whole thing, and everything was manual. And if you look at the Digital Acid and Wampa Stampa, they also were some of the first doing this back then, and we all did this manually, and it was incredibly difficult to pull off. So over the years, this is back in 2021, so now we're almost at 2024, and finally, NFT Hive came up with a tool that actually works very similar to how the candy machine would work on Solana, or some of the other things that you've seen on Ethereum. And so it's going to actually create the PFP at the moment of mint, so there wouldn't be a pre-minted idea of what it is. And that's actually the right way to do it. And they built in a ranking system, and they made it super cool because you can add people to the contract to split the revenue. And because of all these new features, I was like, you know what, let's do a tutorial on how to make a whole PFP collection on Wax, and starting from the beginning all the way to the end. And I thought a fun thing to do is I'm going to use that stinger that I used before, and I thought I'd get some help from some friends. And so I put out a call to the community to see who else wanted to add some traits to this, and we got a great response. And so we have some amazing artists that have hopped in, and I'm going to show you kind of how this all kind of went down. And so anyway, let's start from the beginning. And so I created the PSD out of the original stinger artwork by separating the eyes, the nose, the top body, the bottom body, wings, and special accessories. And so that was going to be the attributes. And I created a PSD file in Procreate, which we can take a look at here. And I'll show you this is kind of how I set up the layers. And I did this in Procreate, and then I finished it off in Photoshop. So created all my artwork in Procreate by creating groups, and each group would be the name of the attribute, say a head or eyes, and then any layer inside that group would be one of the actual traits of that attribute. So that's how you set this up, and you can do the same thing in Photoshop. And once I got all the artwork back from everybody, I was able to load those into the separate layers, and then from there I could export layers to PNG files, and then I ended up with my final PNG files that I could now upload into the new NFT Hive PFP tool. And so we can make their drop. And so that's what we're going to do. And so right here, I'm just going to go over a little rundown on how I set up the PSD. And then once we're done with that, I'm going to kind of show you how I set up the drop on NFT Hive and how easy it is and how to work with the JSON file, which you'll need as you're loading in your traits. And then setting up the final drop, and then starting to do a little bit of marketing. And I'm going to show you kind of all those steps. So let's hop in really quick, just look at the PSD so you can see how to set it up and get your PFP collection on the road to being minted on Wax. Side notes, one, you're going to need RAM. RAM is really important. We're going to be doing 3,333 of these PFPs. So that's about, I think, around 300 Wax worth of RAM, which we're going to need. And then you want to make sure your CPU has enough in there as well. And so we're going to be renting some CPU from NFT Hive as well, because they can do that. And make sure your resources are there so that way the drop goes smooth. And then, yeah, let's start off there. And then we'll go on at the end.
All right, so now I've gotten the PSD file from Procreate into actually Photoshop now. And if you open up the layers palette, you'll see all those different groups I had made, those layer groups in Procreate. They are now layer groups in Photoshop. And you want to make sure that there's no outside background layer down here, how there normally is. You just want to make sure that all the backgrounds are just inside of the folder. And if you look inside each of the folders, they have all the different backgrounds or all the different attributes, depending on which one. This is for the body, those are the wings, body. Now we have this in here, okay? This is a good way to kind of test out things, kind of try out different looks to see if everything's matching up as best you can. If everything is looking good to go and you're ready to now move on to uploading into the actual PFP tool, what you're going to do is export each one of these, okay, as a PNG for that particular attribute and then upload those individually. So the easiest way to do that is start off with one layer group, because it's really hard to do this with separated layer groups. So it's easier just to go into one of these attributes and turn on all the layers just for that particular attribute. Now, this is just the way I do it, guys. There's other ways to go about it, but this is just how I do it. And then you want to go under File, then you're going to go Export, and you want to do Layers to Files. And it's going to open up this dialog, and what we're going to do is find out where we're going to put this. I'll just pop this onto my desktop probably. There's my desktop, there we go, and I'll just make a folder really quick. Test attributes. Alright, so we're going to use test attributes as the location of where it's going to go, and then you can have it have like a pre-named whatever. I would normally name it whatever the attribute is, which is this one's background. So I have background, and now it would be background 1, background 2, and so forth. The file type, we want to go for PNG 24. You don't want them to trim layers. Turn off this one, trim layers. Do not do this, because otherwise it will just trim it just around that PNG and won't be placed properly. So the only thing you want on is just the transparency layer, okay? Turn off trim layers once again. And then what you're going to do is click also visible layers only, okay? And so what it will do is going to check everything, and then all these visible ones will then be sent to this folder. So go ahead and hit run, and we'll let it kind of do its magic. And okay, so when it's done, you'll see this export layers files was successful. You click OK. And if you look at the actual files now, you'll see that all those backgrounds have showed up into that test attributes. Now I want to, let's put this in a detail view. I'm going to put these all just into another folder, just so I know that this is going to be backgrounds. And then just put all those in there. And I probably should have done that originally. Now the next one I'll do, let's say, eyes. Let's say this will be the next folder, and that will be the same way. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm just going to go over here. I'm going to turn off the background, turn on just the eyes, and then turn all these layers on. I know it looks weird to you, but this is how you're going to do it. Turn them all back on, and then go over here to File, Export, and then Layers to File. Make sure that visible layers only are on. Select where you want to put it. Remember, I just made that folder, so let's go find that folder, which is test attributes eyes right here. So I click OK. So that's my path. That's where everything's going to be dropped, and I'm going to have the prefix name be eyes. And make sure trim layers is not checked, and make sure visible layers only is checked, and transparency. Include the ICC profile as well. And then you're just going to hit run on this as well and go through the same process. And then when you're all done, you're going to have a bunch of folders here with all the different attributes. Okay, and then we're going to upload them now into NFT Hive. All right, now we're over here on NFT Hive, and we're going to make our PFP drop. The way you get there, guys, you go through Creator here up top. You find the collection, and you're going to go to Manage Drops and PFPs. And then we're going to do a new PFP drop, and it's going to come to this area right here. This section right here, if you don't get these green check marks, you most likely will have to make sure that NFT Hive Drops is authorized to create drops for you. and that your collection is whitelisted. So reach out to the NFT Hive crew to help you out with that. They have a Discord and also a Telegram. So anyway, once you're inside here, guys, what we're going to do is just start to build the PFP with those PNGs we just made in Photoshop. So click on Add Attribute. This attribute name will be background. We're just going to use the first one so you can see it. And then we go Add Attribute. And now you have this background thing here. So far, there's nothing in here. We haven't done anything yet. And so what we want to do is first you have your attribute, which will be like your layer folder, okay, that we had over here in Photoshop. So imagine an attribute is this, the whole kit and caboodle, the whole eyes folder. And then everything inside of it is considered a value. So if when you come back over here, you can add values because right now we don't have any. So the way you do this is, I would just suggest uploading directly into NFT Hive because they have a built-in IPFS built in here. So you click on this button right here. We would upload the picture. Let's go over here to desktop. Let's go to those test ones we just made of the background. And here are those test backgrounds. And so I'm going to hit this one. I'd upload it, and it's going to upload for us right into the background. There it is, and it gives us our IPFS hash, and then we can name it. And so this one I'm going to call bubblegum. Okay, and once that's there, you can do additional layers. I'm not going to cover this right now because this is a little bit more of an advanced feature, so that you can have multiple layers that match up on certain pulls. So I'm not going to cover that. It's a little bit more complicated than you need to go through right now. You don't really need that right now. Anyway, this one's going to be called bubblegum. This is the hash which I uploaded, and then I just hit add value. And now you see the value is right here. There's one of one value that you can put into it and be able to do that. So now I want to add another one, and all I'm going to do is stay in this same attribute. I'm not going to add anything yet, and I'm just going to hit add value. So now I'm going to do another one. And now we go into the next one, which is this one. Okay, so you're going to maybe run into this. If your background or your layer happens to be larger than 5 megabytes, you're going to have to put it either somewhere else or shrink down the size of it without affecting the pixel ratio. So what I would suggest is going to like pinata.cloud or Filebase, I think, is another one that has IPFS, and upload it there. Okay, so I'm not going to go through that right now. We're just going to upload one of these other ones that we can kind of get in here. And let's see. Actually, let's cancel this one. Let's do it again because I think it got stuck. So let's upload another one. I'm going to do this green one in the back. And there it is. And then we're going to name this one. We're going to call this Green Forest. That and we're going to do the same thing, add value. Okay, so now as you can see, we have now 2 that have been uploaded, and that's how this attribute is going to work. And we're just going to keep adding in all the rest of the layers. So let's add a couple of other ones just so I can show you how this is going to end up. We'll call red lightning. All right, and we can add that value as well. Okay, so now to give you the next part of this. So inside this attribute, which is background, we have 3 values, which is green forest, red lightning, and bubblegum, right? Now, as you see over here, the chance here is 33% for each of them, okay? So I can change that so that, let's say this green one, you're going to have, actually, let's make the bubblegum, you're going to have the most chance of getting. You have a 60% chance of getting a bubblegum. Now that affects the other ones where they are only at 20% for the other 2. And now I can adjust these as well. So maybe the red lightning will, actually this one I'm going to do 33%, and now 16% for red lightning. Now this is great because you can add some real unique pulls for your holders. That being said, be very careful when you start running into a lot of actual traits, guys. So the stingers have 182 traits, and just so you understand how many possibilities that is, that's about 6 million possible outcomes, because you're going to be timesing 182 times 182 times 182, and that's going to give you basically how many possibilities you have in creating something. So with that in mind, I only have 3,333 stingers out of the 6 million possibilities, which is about a 0.0005 outcome of the entire lot that's possible. So that being said, if you start to create things that start to say 1% chance or lower or 2% chance, know that there might be a real chance that you might not even get that to ever even show up in a mint. So use this cautiously when you're weighting down your traits, guys, because if you have over 100 traits, know that you're definitely dealing with a lot of possible outcomes, and you don't want to create something that doesn't even ever get seen in a mint. So anyway, keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Okay, so now that we've got your background, now we can add the next attribute. This next one's going to be eyes. And you're going to do the exact same thing, guys. So you're just going to run basically right through this until all of this is done, okay? Now, why did I start off directly on mainnet before testing it? Well, I'm just doing it this way because this is what I was told would probably be the easiest way, because this way everything's being loaded up into the mainnet IPFS. And when I save it over here, okay, as I'm building these, you're going to need to save it multiple times. It's going to create a JSON file, okay? So let me go over here to the test attributes. And as you can see right here, it says attributes JSON. You can name it whatever you want. Make sure it's .json though, okay? And we're going to go to test attributes, and we're going to save this. And there you go, okay? So now it's saved. Why did I do that? Because before we even get to this other part, which is basically just a drop, if you've done a drop before, watch my other drop tutorial. You're just going to put in the name, the max claimable. You're going to do any kind of static attributes, which we're not going to be doing, and you can create a name for it, okay? And then you put in a description and a start time and how much you're going to actually be putting in. So the rest of it's pretty self-explanatory, guys. But this part is what you want to really concentrate on. So we just saved that JSON file. I'm going to show you why we did that. So if I refresh this, okay, it's going to erase everything we just did. And you're like, oh no, what had just happened? Well, I saved that JSON file, so I can load it now. If I hit load, and I go over here, test after, there's that JSON file we just created, and we're going to open that up, and boom, there's all the work we've been doing. It's still in there. And this is how you're going to save your work as you're going along building your PFP, because I'm pretty sure it's going to take you more than a couple times to get all the stuff into this section. So you always want to save your JSON file. This is also why we're doing it, is because you can take that same JSON file after you've loaded everything in and go on testnet and just load it right into testnet and actually test out the PFP. So that's why you're doing it, guys. So after you do that, you're going to put in your preview image for the drop. You know, let's just let's see what I can do here. Let's go. Just neighborhood stingers. Let's just put this as our cover. So this will be the cover of our actual drop. Okay, and that's going to be our drop. We can name what it's going to be. The Stingers PFP drop. Yep. You're going to go down here. We don't have any static attributes. That's if they're the same for all of them. So usually it would be like one static background or something, but I have all that stuff changing, so we're not going to need to do that. Put in your limits just like a regular drop. These are going to have 3,333. I'm not going to put any limits other than that on the cooldown. Make sure that you have enough RAM to purchase this, and you can do this by going ahead and adding RAM here, and it'll tell you, like if I put in 20, how many drops it will create. So I'm going to need, say 30, and let's try 50. Let's try 100. Okay, so 100 is going to give me close to 1,000. Let's do 120. It's getting expensive, guys. 120 wax and round. Let's go 150 round. Okay, almost there. 75. There, we have more than enough right now. So I have 3,333 drops. I have enough for 3,447 drops. I would always keep an eye on your RAM though, guys, to make sure that the drop goes smooth. Put in your drop name here, Stingers. And you can put in a description if you like. And your start time and end date. And this is all just like a regular drop, guys. So let's say I'm dropping it next week at 12 noon. And then payment details. I wanted to go over this because the Stingers were really different because we had 11 different artists. And I'm using a feature that NFT Hive has that creates an unlimited amount of wallets that you can add as people that are going to receive the sales. And this is what we did with NFT Hive. So what you're going to do is add the payout, and as you add each person in here, run, and then add receipt, and then you can add more, dog. These should all be actual WAMs, by the way, guys. I'm just putting this in as an example so you can see that. We can add this all in, and you can add who receives more than the other. So let's say this one should receive 2 parts. You see he'll get 40%, everyone else gets 20. With the Stingers, which was really cool, is that we actually had Wax DAO, who is handling our DAO fund, and also our Stingers fund wallet added to it. So the Wax DAO got 20% and the Stingers fund got 13%. And that's going right back to the community, and it was right in the contract. We won't have to go out afterwards and hope that someone transfers it. It was all happening automatically in our drops, and that was part of this, is to make sure that we can show that you can actually collab and do it all within the contract. You don't have to sit there and trust. We can just verify, guys, and this makes things a lot cleaner and easier for people to do stuff. So anyway, you can add as many recipients as you want if you're doing a collab. You can restrict drops to specific accounts, and you can use an external mentor. I don't suggest doing any of these. Right now we're just doing a very basic PFP drop, guys, and then at that point you can create the drop after you've filled in all the rest of the stuff. Okay, so that's basically how you do it, guys. I highly suggest using testnet when you're doing this, and I'm going to show you what it looks like in the end of this, so you can see the drop that we actually did, the Stingers drop. This is all the information that we did for the Stingers drop, and we have all the different attributes and everything else already built in. We made this so for the Stingers, we've now sold 16, a little, almost half basically. I think I might have to rent some CPU. So this will happen too. Always keep an eye on this too, guys. So we offer this in multiple currencies, which you're able to do, which is really, 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 really cool. And then we also, you can drag down here, is go see the actual different attributes. So remember how we just showed you how to do the attributes, guys? So these were all the different values that were loaded in for each of these. And you can use the tool after it's been set up, and people before the drop can see all the different attributes that are going to be possible that they can get. And this is really fun to do. And you can either do this manually or just click this button right here, which will constantly update the entire situation, which is super cool to watch. And you can have some fun seeing what these different Stingers will do. And I'm curious to know what everyone else is going to do. This also will show you all the attributes. And down here, after people start to do it, you'll see all the different transactions for this. And what's nice is that it also creates a nice floor for you guys. And NFT Hive in general is just rad. And if you need to buy any RAM, guys, under here you can always go to, where is it? Over here on the left. There it is. Rent CPU. So you can always rent CPU, guys, and that helps. So I'm going to pay, let's see, I can do 5 wax. let's see. Actually, let's do 5 wax for a couple days. Let's do more. 20 wax. And I can just rent it now. Just going to reload it up. And this is what's really nice about Anchor. You can take care of all of this. Sign it. There we go, guys. So we got some wax CPU loaded up for ours as well. And you can always go back and you can find out the drops by going here to Creator and the drop and going to your drop that you set up and view on site. And there you go. And that's it, guys. That's how we set up the basics of your PFP. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments below. We'll try to answer them as best we can. There is some other stuff that you can do with this, and we'll talk about it possibly in some new tutorials. I want to go over crafting, which is a big part of what Stingers is about, and we'll talk about that in the next tutorial.
All right, guys. So now you got the whole drop set up. You're ready for it, and people are ready to purchase it when it drops. So that will help you. You got how to set up the actual PSD, how to get the artwork ready. You learn how to upload the artwork, how to get the drop ready. And now the last video, we're just going to do a little bit of marketing overview, kind of like how I kind of approached it. And it's not the end all by any means, guys. It's just some basics that you should probably try to do. And you can see that in the next video. So stay tuned, subscribe, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.